Today we're going to be solving some inequalities, but this time we've got variables on both sides of the inequality. So as you can see, I have a 2x is greater than 4x minus 6. So what we want to do is we want to isolate the variable on one side of the inequality. So the way we'll do that is we will take away this 4x from the right-hand side, and then also do the same thing to the other side, because just like equations, with inequalities, we have to keep them in balance. So what we do to one side, we do the same to the other. So what I've got left is this negative 2x, because I had more negatives than positives, is greater than negative 6. So I have one more step in solving this inequality. I have to isolate the variable further by eliminating this coefficient. The way we'll do that is divide by negative 2. Well, again, what we do to one side, we always do the same to the other side. And so that will cancel out the negative 2's, leaving us just with the variable x. And so what we've got left is x and 3 on the other side of the inequality, but what type of inequality sign do we bring down? Well, the rule is, again, when we multiply or divide by a negative, so when the coefficient is negative, that means we're going to end up having to switch that inequality sign. Because just as we saw earlier, when we multiply or divide by negatives, the bigger numbers become smaller, and the smaller numbers become bigger. Well, from there, we're going to go ahead and graph this. So we'll start with the number 3 in the center, 4 to the right, and 2 to the left. The type of circle is open because 3 is not a solution, but the values of x have to be smaller than 3 because it points towards the x, the inequality sign, that is. So we'll draw the line in the direction of smaller values, which is to the left. Now, the problems can get a little bit tougher if we go ahead and place a constant and a variable on both sides of the inequality. So let's try this one. Let's say we had 4x minus 3 is less than 2x plus 6. So the first thing we want to do, again, is figure out which side do we want the variables on. Do we want them on the left or do we want them on the right? It doesn't really make a difference. We'll get the same answer either way. It just depends on how you want to solve this problem. So a lot of people are going to go ahead and probably subtract the 2x from both sides. So we'll go ahead and do the same. So once I've done that, I've now eliminated the x's on the right-hand side, leaving me only with x's on the left. So what I've got here is a 2x minus 3 is now less than 6. So what I've done is I've brought it down to a two-step equation. So our next step is going to be to add 3 to both sides of this equation. So once I've added 3 to both sides, then I've got the variable just about isolated. The only thing I need to do is eliminate that coefficient out in front of the variable. So I've got the 2x is now less than positive 9. Well, again, I'll eliminate that coefficient by doing the opposite operation, which is to divide by 2 on both sides. So 2 doesn't go into 9 evenly, so we can write this as a mixed number to have a better understanding of the value. So x is less than, again, I did not switch the sign because I'm divided by a positive, so the bigger numbers will stay bigger and the smaller numbers will stay smaller, so I do not change the sign. Well, 2 goes into 9 4 times with 1 left over, and then it's always over the divisor, or the denominator, and that's 2 in this case. So if I was to graph this, again, I always like to put the end point in the center of the graph here, with the bigger number off to the right, a smaller number off to the left. And I put an open circle again because the values of x are less than, not equal to, but less. So less is to the left. And so we can draw an arrow off in that direction. Well, in part 2, we'll be solving some other problems with more negatives, and then also trying to solve by putting the variable term on the right side of the inequality and see what we have to do then to move it to the left.